Whenever you're working with wire, your first step should be straightening it. Even if you're going to be bending the wire into a shape or a coil, you should always start with straight wire. And this is because unwanted bends or kinks in the wire will make for uneven or uncontrollable bends when you work it. The trick, though, is to straighten your wire as quickly as possible without overworking it. You don't want your wire to become work hardened and difficult to manipulate. Just a quick note on safety. Whenever you're working with wire, it's a good idea to wear safety goggles to protect your eyes from any sudden releases or slips. Whenever possible, you want to straighten your wire straight from the coil. This works best if you're going to be working with long pieces of wire, especially fine gauge. Most wire wrapping projects will advise you to start with a cut of wire that's about 3 feet long, which is long enough that you don't have to add wire too frequently, and it's short enough to minimize tangling. The easiest way to straighten wire from the coil is with your fingers or with nylon jaw pliers. To use your fingers, just brace your thumb against the underside of the wire and run the wire out between your fingers, pressing up lightly with your thumb. This will leave the wire with a long, smooth curve, but no kinks. You may have to repeat this once or twice, but it usually goes pretty smoothly. Using nylon jaw pliers is very much the same. You just use a tool instead of your fingers. You can also use a ring clamp for this. The nylon jaws are soft against the wire and prevent unwanted bends, dimples, or scuffs. So just grip the wire tightly between the jaws of the nylon pliers and pull the pliers straight out across the wire. You may have to pause and reset the pliers as you're working, especially if you're working with a long piece of wire. And you may have to repeat this once or twice. Once your wire is straightened, you can just cut it from the coil. To straighten shorter pieces of wire that are of a thin to medium thick gauge, up to about 18 gauge, you can use a bench block to roll it. This is a nifty trick, and it works best with annealed wire, so you want your wire to be soft. First, run the wire through your fingers to get most of the major kinks out. And then just set it on your hard work surface. Set a steel bench block on top of it. It should be a pretty heavy one. And then just roll the block back and forth, almost as if you're rolling out a snake of clay. Just give this a few seconds, and your wire will be straight. Another quick trick is to use 2 pairs of flat nose pliers. Grasp each wire end in the jaws of the pliers with the nose of the pliers pointing inwards, and you want to seat the wire as deeply as possible in the jaws of the plier. Then, just rotate the pliers back and forth in opposite directions. You don't want to turn it too far, just a quarter turn or less. Anything further is going to definitely work hard in your wire. While you're rotating, just pull out slightly. And with just a few motions, your wire will be straight. And this technique works especially well for ear wires. Finally, if you're dealing with a heavier gauge of wire, you'll want to put just a little bit more muscle behind it. Again, not too much because you don't want to work hard in the wire. And you want to start with annealed or dead soft wire for the best results. To start, clamp one end of the wire into a bench vise. Don't worry about scuffing it or crunching it because you can clip that off later. Make sure it's secure and clip the other end in a pair of heavy-duty pliers or vise grips. These are vise grips. So you want to pull on the wire with a quick tug and then hold it taut. And after, just a couple seconds, you'll feel the wire give very slightly. When you feel that, you want to relax the tension and your wire will be straight.